Okay. So in the CSV reader, right, the thing we do is we just read it from that file. We don't convert it to object. We do explicitly that. So whatever we want, we read, and then we convert into the student object, set all this information. The logic, whichever we read from the file, is separated. But in CSV to Bean, on the Bean to CSV thing, we have already the ready-made classes. We are just using them. That's it. We are not writing the entire logic.
Here the ready-made classes, our student class, like where we had that getter, setter, all those formats.
Yeah, so same way you have the stateful bean to CSV builder, right? So it is ready-made for us. So if you go to that class, can you open the stateful bean to CSV builder? Yeah. Okay. So if you give Control O, so here you see the stateful bean to CSV builder has a parameterized constructor with all the strategies, whatever you wanted to read and whatever separators you want, how you want to convert that bean finally. So this is actually a private constructor, which is your singleton pattern. So where you have your constructor as private, so you can't create your object directly here. So for that, you have to use build method to use it, to create your object.
Okay.
Okay. So that is the reason in your CSV util.java. Can you go to the CSV util.java? Yeah, there is a second line which you created, stateful bean to CSV, right? Can you go there? Yeah. Here, can you give Control O? So here you can see the object which is getting created with build method. Okay. So there's a scroll down. Yeah, you see here stateful bean to CSV. Can you open that stateful bean to CSV? The first one. You still see that it's a private one, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so that is the reason we are using the particular stateful bean builder class, and with that we are creating our own object.
Okay.
Okay, so these are all the design pattern which we taught initially, right? The singleton and the factory design pattern. You remember? So have a look on the singleton and factory design pattern once again and ask me the questions if you have any on that. Because going forward, I'll not be mentioning like whether what design pattern is being used here, right? I'll be asking you guys to tell that. So ensure that you remember the basic criteria. What is a singleton pattern? What happens in singleton? Why the constructor is private? Because you don't want the object to be created easily. You want only one object, and that can be created only through a static method.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay, Sneha. Yeah.
Yeah. So now I want you to explore the few other classes in this. If you see on your left, there's something called CSV bind by name, CSV bind by position. Yeah, bind by name and bind by position, right? Yeah. So this is like in your CSV file. If you have the headers, okay, and in your Java class, you have your attributes. Now, so far we are giving in your CSV util.java, we are giving the explicitly the column names, right?
Oh, yes, Sneha.
To write it. Okay, but when we want to read it, again, we are giving the same thing. Yesterday in our example, we gave the same way. But now I don't want you to give this one. Instead, I want you to use this CSV bind by position and bind by name. So what happens here is, it's an interface. So it will be binded with your student.java. Okay. So whatever attribute you are giving it here, the same attribute values has to be present in your CSV. So in your CSV, this is your CSV file, right? So if I open the CSV, I'll just have this content. I don't know which attribute falls for what. How will I read it? So I don't want to explicitly mention somewhere, these are my headers, these are my columns. Instead, I want to make it more dynamic. I don't want it as a static value itself. So what I'll use is either I use the position. So the first position, 1, 2, 3 is for roll number, or I'll use the first name. I bind with the help of name. So I want you to explore the CSV bind by name, bind by position, which are both are interfaces. Okay, and this is not an interface, it's an annotation.
Okay.
Okay, so I think you missed few classes. So maybe if you hear that, you'll get to know what is an annotation. Okay.
Okay.
So just explore these two classes, bind by name and bind by position. And along with that, I want you to complete this CSV reader too. So in the next class, we will use the CSV bind by name and bind by position also for writing and reading things. And once that is done, second thing we'd be doing is concurrent thing, like on a threading concept. So if you see here in the same open CSV bean, you have something called concurrent, right?
Yes.
So this will help you to the process your entire CSV bean and CSV line with respect to your threading concept. So if you see, it's implementing with runnable.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll explore that in next class. Before that, I want you to recollect the basic things about the interface annotation class. I think you missed the annotation class. Just have a look on that video. And the third thing would be on the CSV bind by name and bind by position. And once we are good with this, we can go with the multi-threading way of writing to a CSV file from multiple threads.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So if you have any questions, get it asked. So since Kiriba also asked us to have a revision kind of thing on all the concepts which we learned. So maybe we can think of that on Monday or Tuesday. Okay.
Okay. Okay, sir.
So that you guys can remember the concepts and you can recollect and use it on our upcoming classes.
Sure, sure.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Have a happy weekend.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you, sir.